Before I begin, I want to say that I am broke. I have no money. I've been broke for a very long time, and in this moment right now, I am on partial welfare. Even though I'm broke, I do live a very rich life, and I've never felt more loved than right now in this moment. But it's very significant for you to know that I have no money. And so the history of the Spindent actually starts immediately after my book ends. My book is Lands of Souls, Tweaker to Believer. After 7 years of being a drug-dealing middleman for crystal meth, smoking and dealing, I had a dramatic NDE experience that made me go to different dimensions and come back at will. Once I was no longer able to shift to different dimensions, I right then and there went on my knees and started praying to the higher power, whoever showed me that. I said, whoever showed me that, whoever you are, I am yours. Whatever you want me to do, I'm here to figure out what my place is in this world for you. Immediately after, as I'm coming up off my knees, I look over and I see this game dice piece. I believe it's a game piece for Magic the Gathering. I never played the game personally, but I saw that it had a witch's hat on it and a haunted castle. I immediately thought about all the popular things that were so dark in the day at the time. And this was 2011, so Walking Dead was doing good. Then there was Harry Potter, and then like the Twilight sagas. So I was just thinking about all the darkness, and even games for dark things. And I was thinking like the Ouija board and stuff. And from there I was thinking about how there's no Christian games or even things positive for the youth. It's always something dark and negative. From there I looked at this again, and all of a sudden I saw a glimpse of it sideways, and I thought to myself, that kind of looks like a cross. And as soon as I thought to myself that it looked like a cross, I started getting images of four corners of designs around a cross. And in the bottom right, the first one in my mind that came in my mind right away was Benjamin Franklin. And for the bottom right piece in my mind, it just said Benjamin Franklin. And I was thinking to myself, I just started researching him. So I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Money and power, $100 bill. And then it said it in my mind again, Benjamin Franklin. I was like, oh wow, they mean the actual guy, actual Benjamin Franklin. I was like, a white boy, but he's white, and I'm black. And I was like, oh, okay, well, he's white and I'm black. And then in my mind again, it said Benjamin Franklin. And I was like, oh, okay, because when I did the research on him, I saw that, he's a philosopher, a very creative, very innovative man. And one of his quotes was, in life, there's only two things that are certain, death and taxes. So it goes across. I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And then it said Benjamin Franklin. And I was like, and it was going back and forth, but I ended up accepting it, especially because as I was researching him, something had happened. As I was researching him, it was like I was there. I was there with him as he was going through his life, going through his struggles, going through his ideologies, as if we were one. So at the end of it, even though it was very controversial at first, I went with it because I knew that both he and I had a connection that I did not yet understand. So in the end, Benjamin Franklin's on the bottom right with his famous quote, in life there's only two things that are certain, death and taxes, with the tax sign on the other side, with prayer hands on top right, and what would Jesus do top left. Now we fast forward to 2013. Now I have a daughter, full-time dad, thank you Lord, and I have a job. Now that I have a job, I attempt to actually make the Spindent. And in making the Spindent, I end up going with a partner, and he talks me out of making the Spindent. He's like, it's very controversial, and I was already thinking that. And he was like, but the idea is nice. So instead of doing the game Spindent, just do the actual pendant that spins. And from there, he was like, do other things as well, other designs, and then once we get money developing, we go back to the game aspect. I was like, okay, that's cool, that makes sense. And from there, that's where this prototype came in to play. This is the Spindent that has no game pieces, but it spins. Then one day I woke up and it just hit me, and I was like, you know what? That wasn't the vision. That's not what he brought me back in this world to do. So I called it off. I said this isn't right, and I just put it on the back burner for later. But that was when I knew that in order for this to come out in this world, it had to be me. Now it's 2015, 2016. I get a second job at U-Haul. I'm at U-Haul as a detailer, and I meet this guy Kenny. He's really cool, and I felt his energy. He was a real positive, real good person. So I share with him my Spindent. I'm at work here at U-Haul. My boy Kenny, he shows me how to do the detailed bays and this and that, how to wash the trucks. He was super cool, cool peeps, good vibes. So I shared with him my Spindent idea, and so I showed him the prototype I had, and explained him how explained the game and stuff. And when I was done, I explained it to him. He told me,
It kind of reminded me of a dreidel.
right, and I was like, and in turn, I asked him, what's a dreidel? And it went from there. Thank you, sir. So as it turns out, the dreidel is actually not a game for spiritual development, but it's a gambling game that the Jews would use as a hoax. So while they were, because back in the days, Christianity was exiled, was persecuted, so to do it was against the law. And this is before it was even called Christianity. But the fact that it wasn't a game for spiritual development, I disregarded it and thought nothing of it. Fast forward again to March of 2021, and something very profound happened. And then all of a sudden I had my first vision of knowing. And after my vision of knowing, I knew that this was legit. I knew that I had a purpose, and I knew that the Spindent coming out was going to be happening very soon. When I receive God's word, it's like a pressure takes hold. And knowing him and knowing that he knows me, it makes it to where it fine-tunes the way he wants me to go. In October and to December of 2021, the Spindent was about to come out. And so I started doing a deeper research on it. I was like, okay, I'm about to do it. Come January, it was already set. Let me make sure that this is the only game for spiritual development out there. So I did a deep search on games for spiritual development. On my deep search, all of a sudden, once again, the dreidel was the only thing that came up. So the dreidel was the only competition to my Spindent. However, it's not even a game for spiritual development. But it came up again. So I was like, okay, it came up again. Let me make sure I know everything I need to know about the Spindent. As it turns out, when it comes to the dreidel and the way it's been used by the Jewish people for thousands of years, came about by two people, Ben and Ben, son of Ben. At first, I thought somebody was messing with me, but you can't alter history just to mess with somebody's head. And from there, I started to research them. And just like Benjamin Franklin, as I was researching them and listening to their trials and tribulations and all they had to go through, it was like I was there with them. And you could cross-reference this or take my word for it when I tell you that all four of us from this tribe of Benjamin come together as one under the belief that the world can come together knowing that there's only one true God. And not only does this mean that God does know my name, and not only does it mean that he knows exactly what I'm doing right now, because he's why I'm doing it right now, he also knows you, whoever you are listening to this, whoever he sent to listen to this right now, he knows your name, he knows who you are, and he gave us hundreds of years in a Bible from thousands of years ago, and he just gave you 10 years of my life in a matter of minutes. And as God is the purest form of energy, even if this is recording, in this moment of absolute truth, it makes no difference. And what does this mean for people that are religious already or have a spiritual practice? I don't know. He saved me for people like me, and I was borderline atheist. He saved me for the next generation and this lost generation right now. He saved me because they feel that the world has forgotten about them and they need something. And right now they are killing themselves and they're doing mass suicides with school shootings. They're crying out for help. And this is God saying, hey, stop it. I care. Come to me. I'm here. Reach out. You can come for this. You can come to this for answers. And then from there, once you get the answers, go find someone for the understanding. That's what this is for. But, however, going back to what I said in the beginning of this video, I have no money. I am broke. And for the last 10 years, I've been trying to get money to mass produce this thing. And it's not working. I've been broke after 10 years of hustling and trying. Side hustles, second jobs, it's not happening. But these last couple of months have been interesting. These last couple of months have been almost like this intentionally not happening. And I understand God's energy now from energies of malice. And also I'm like trying to figure it out, but then it happened. A couple of weeks ago, it came to me finally. Never once, after 10 years, never once ever has he ever told me to mass produce it. Never once. He told me to manifest it, and I have. To mass produce it or to do anything else with it, that's not up to me. That's up to the world. That's up to you guys. But I have the patent, and I'm done though. After 10 years, I'm done. I've done all I could do with it. But I do have the patent, so if you want to reach out to me, anyone can. You know, God knows all. He knows what you guys are going to do with this information. I don't. However, I do have an idea of what you guys might do with this information. But that's not up to me. So this is the end of my testimony, of the testimony of the Spindent. And thank you for your time, and God bless.